Hey guys, welcome to another session of Reading Between the Lines, or RBTL for short. This week's update content is not like super spectacular because it's not a new banner for pullable heroes. It's kind of nice though, because I think they are releasing heroes, like new heroes, way too quick, and for the drop rates and for free-to-play players and even just like minor spenders, it's been pretty tough to keep up, since we know that they're creating like really good heroes. Every single one of them are really good, and I just think that it's really nice for us to actually have a break, so have a filler banner, so to speak. And of course, this is a great time for newer players to kind of catch up on some pretty good heroes. And again, I say like pretty good, I mean like really good, for the roles that they're supposed to be made for. So first things first, we'll talk about the side story. I'm not going to go too deep into this since there's not much really to talk about. I asked the guys on stream if this was a rerun of the story. Like, I assumed when Krau was first released in Korea, they had a side story to go along with it. It kind of makes sense. Apparently, like when Luna was re-released, we had that Choose Your Path side story, but in Korea they actually had a Luna side story. So I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure this is a rerun. Either way, if you do have Krau, this is a good time to get his epic catalyst. So I actually spent like the past 3 days farming his epic catalyst, farming for his epic catalyst, and then it's just like the side story event comes and you have his epic catalyst to get from the event itself. So I already completed it, sadly, but it's okay. I can keep those for like another hero that really needs that nucleus. I believe that's what it's called. Ancient creature nucleus. That's what it's called. I can save it for like another hero, so it doesn't matter. But it's just kind of funny. I just found it kind of funny. Like when I went on Discord this morning, the guys were just like, hey, Jagan, did you finish 6-star awakening your Krau? I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, perfect. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because you can farm his catalyst. And I'm like, oof. I'm like, I already got all his epic catalysts, just don't have his epic runes yet. That was like awkward. Anyways, you can get his epic runes here too, but I would just say don't, unless you want to just ensure it. I think it's just easier to grind the actual like frost altar. It's just better energy efficient, but it's just like more RNG if you're really waiting for it. Nothing much else to say here, just some minor bugs and fixes. I didn't want to say this. One of them. Okay, so the adventure here, there is a new nightmare mask. I'm pretty much recording this pretty much for myself. It's like later on, if I need to know where another nightmare mask is, I know where to farm it. But anyways, it's kind of good. They keep updating our adventure so that there's more boss drops and just more bosses spread around the world. World difficulty is really good. But most likely you wouldn't be going after 6-9. But I guess like if you're hunting for other like regular catalysts, it's kind of good to get the nightmare mask there if you're going for like both things. So I'm assuming that the enemy drops for 6-9 versus I think it's a 2S3, I believe. Like it would be different. So you get the nightmare mask at the end, but different catalyst drop. That's all we want to talk about on this, and then we're just gonna touch upon the banner. Wait, Aline says you can talk about how Yufine and Haste could be next week on banner. Oh right, didn't they have that in the rotation in Korea? Is this why people are speculating that? That would be really good, actually. All right, so generally my community has told me don't do speculation videos, Dragon, and you know they're wise guys, so I'm not gonna speculate too much. But if I remember correctly, it does seem like it was a pattern. I do remember seeing Krau and Tenebria released in Korea, not together, but like in order or in sequence. And so there could be possibly another filler banner next week before we get the collab. This is a one week banner, as you can see there, scheduled to April 3rd to April 10th, so 1 full week after the maintenance. And you can see on the title there, special drop rate up round 1. So I mean, if you say round 1, there's obviously going to be a round 2. It's just that I didn't really assume that it might be next week, but it could make sense. That would kind of suck if it was Haste and Yufine, in the sense that unless we get their events as well, so you're going to be having 2 events in 2 weeks, which is a big grind for a lot of casual players, but unless they get their story event, I'm not too excited about that, because I actually want to play Haste story event. I saw like previews on it from when Korea had it released, and it looked really cool because you get to learn about Haste, which I want to, because he's an assassin or something like that, and he's a vampire, so that's kind of cool. Hey, Narco Google Rose, right? Welcome. Yeah, so I want to talk about a bit about this banner. First things first, if you're a new player, this is not a bad one to kind of, pull a couple here and there, but they're not needed. Both of them are not needed heroes, and I mean, arguably you could say that about everyone. So to each their own. You'll see like maybe YouTubers or other content creators and streamers like use a specific hero, and you might be bought into the fact that, oh man, that hero is really good, not knowing like the background to why they use them. So like, for example, for me, I 6-star my Krau like pretty recently. I have Tywin, and apparently like Taiwan is now just like way better with a 100% defense break. Makes him very usable in a lot of content. Wyvern 11, endgame content, and PvP and GVG makes him really useful. He has higher base speed than Krau, and the only reason why I 6-starred my Krau and putting so much investment in him is because I got Krau earlier on in the game, and so I just have this connection to Krau, and I also like his sprite. I think his sprite is cooler than Tywin, and I know like from an art perspective, there's people that say, no man, Tywin's way cooler. So I'm just saying, if you're a new player and you're looking at, say, hey, should I pull on these heroes? I can say like every hero has their weaknesses, and Krau has like major ones. Most important thing to know is if you're pulling for them, you need to know what role they take in your hero lineup and in your team chemistry before you even pull for them. So only if you're missing the specific role would I say pull for them. Otherwise, don't pull for them just for the hero's sake. They really need to work in a team. Unless you can start one-man teaming Wyvern 11, don't think in like an aspect of, oh, I must pull for this hero for this hero's sake, but rather think about your whole team composition first, and then see, okay, am I missing a provoker? Am I missing a CR pushback? Am I missing a defense buffer? Stuff like that. Am I missing a really good tank? Right? So for Krau, let's take a look at his kit here, just so you guys get an unbiased view. Just pull for the kit itself. So we're only gonna take a look at he has a max 75% chance to provoke for 1 turn. That's as high as someone like Crimson Armin. I think General Purgus has a higher provoke chance. I'm not quite sure about that, but he provokes quite a bit. And having a 75% is really good on someone like Krau. I used to build Krau for like pure tank, so like 20k, 21k HP, like 1.8k defense, and for PvE it was pretty decent. Like he would like live pretty much every content. He took me through a couple floors in the Abyss, but the problem is he was way too slow. And Terror, made a point by like hunting me in the arena and showing me how my team sucks with a slow Krau. So now I have a rebuilt Krau, and if you guys watch me on YouTube in chronology, you could see that I have a rebuilt Krau video. So you could check that out for his stats and what he kind of looks like right now. Again, like I said, I'm gonna get his 6-star awakening, I think by today, and he's gonna have maybe, I think most likely 21k HP, much more speed. Basically, you want to build Krau for speed. If you're gonna take him into PvP and GVG scenarios, speed, like most damage dealers have some sort of speed, and if they don't, they have CR boosters. And no matter how much HP and defense your Krau has, it won't outlive the onslaught of attacks. Most people think that Krau is just used for the S3, but again, if you have low speed, he's not gonna have a chance to use his S3, and he most likely dies. I have experience with that myself because I pick on slow Kraus with just Sid alone, and it works. A speed team like Ruzid, Rose, Sid, they run circles around a slow Krau. In my recent change, because he's faster, he can really take advantage of his provoking. So because he has such a high provoke chance, that's really what you want him to do. So build him for high speed, of course high defense and HP, and you need high effectiveness. High effectiveness, so when he does proc his provoke on his S1, you have a higher chance of nailing it. Now, it depends on where you are, of course, in the arena and in the meta you're in right now. You might need more or less effectiveness, but currently I'm running about 50%. That's been working kind of, but it's not doing it anymore. In high tier arena, it's just not doing it anymore. Everybody has too high effect resistance, so they just resist it all day. My S1 is only at a 65%, and I don't think I'm going to make it into 75. Too much investment for that 10%, and where the meta is going, I think Krau is going to lose his place in high-end arena pretty soon. I'm seeing some weaknesses for sure. His S2 has up to a maximum of 50%. I believe I have it at a 40 or 45% currently in the upgrade. And it's not bad. The CR pushback is not bad, but again, it does hinge on your effectiveness versus their effect resistance. So again, it doesn't really go off a lot, but mainly you want to use it for the defense buff. So the defense buff is where you're going to get it 100%, of course. There's no proc chance. Defense buff will help your whole team survive, and most likely you'll be running Aureus on Krau since he has one of the highest base HP and defense combo ratio for a knight, one of the highest. I think like F Maya has a similar HP but lower defense, and Taiwan has higher HP and higher defense but lower HP in ratio. But Krau has like a really good all-rounder for survivability. His S3 is also really good for two things. One, it can do some quite like really high damage. So as you can read here, after awakening, it deals a damage proportional to the caster's lost health. So having Krau with high health means more damage when you pull off the S3. Now obviously it is a very big risk. Again, it's very situational. Sometimes you get a good S3, sometimes you don't. But S3, I would say, usually is really good at taking down like thieves, really good at taking down, let's say, people like mages. So if you really want to one-shot some mages that can really cripple your team, or one-shot some thieves that can really cripple your team, using the S3 is really easy on him. If you have like, let's say 20,000 HP, people will knock him down 50% health, you have 10k HP left, you pretty much do the equivalent of 10k HP. Now, one thing to note is that elemental advantage does take effect in terms of damage dealt. Also, defense breaks and attack buffs, although the scaling is not exactly the same. I have to say that for sure. If you have him attack buffed, his scaling for his S3 is only a certain percentage. I'm not quite sure how the formula works, but that's my observation using him over and over. He can miss targets, let's say Assassin Cartuja, and missing will give a proportional loss in the damage. But it's not the same as if you were pulling off a regular attack. I don't know, again, this S3 is like quite complicated. You can read at the very end line there, it says this attack does not trigger a critical hit. And so for Krau, you don't need to build them for high critical hit chance. You don't need to build them for high critical hit damage. If there are leftovers from substats, it's not bad to have, but you really don't need it since it doesn't really affect it. So high HP again, high speed to take advantage of your skills when he's up in the lineup, and then of course high effectiveness. I would say high effect resistance is really nice. Like I said, I'm about to 6-star awaken him maybe today. He has a 12% effect resistance just on his 6-star awakening, which is incredible. It'll pump my Krau up to about 61%. That's good enough to ignore some like really annoying side status effects, while it won't take on like someone like a serious debuffer like Clury would most likely run like over maybe 100 effect resistance and effectiveness, and then my effect resistance wouldn't really matter anyway. But regardless, his S3 is still really good. After he does it, after the awakening, after he does his S3, you get a barrier proportional to your total health, which is incredibly strong. So yeah, definitely good to have. Let's see here. Terror wants me to read this, so I'm gonna read this here. He says there's a different Korean meta for Krau, so this is a good thing to note. More attack stats, less HP to trigger his S3 faster on defense with Aureus. Oh, I see. Okay, all right, that's pretty good. But the speed is about the same, correct here? So from that reading, I would assume the strategy is more attack to like reduce their HP, total HP, and because he has less HP, it'll trigger his S3 for defense. Yeah, so his AI usually won't trigger his S3 until he's about like under like 50%. And even I would say safe to say under 40%. Sometimes I see him do his S2 when he's 50%, but I think it might be oh, he says or even faster. So even faster Krau. Okay, that's actually really cool. That's a really cool build. I didn't really consider that before, but yeah, so if you have higher attack, yeah, if you have higher attack, that's pretty good. So one thing to know actually, even both damage dealt for S1 is proportional to the max health. Okay, now for new players, when it says there's a different stat scaling, so like S2 is proportional to the caster's defense. That's how you damage deal with S2 is the defense. S1 is the max health. When you read that, you know, don't just like funnel all your stats into it just to make sure you get the maximum damage dealt. Damage dealt is still based on attack mostly. So if your Krau has like really high attack but also really good health, then you can really benefit from the S1. But the S1, the scaling would still come from attack first. So if you really want to go with this build that Terror was mentioning, you need higher attack. And I could totally see it. As a defense team, that's really fun. Lower HP, I would say maybe like don't think about like 10k HP. That's just way too low. Somewhere where it's not easily one-shottable. So maybe 18k, 16k to 18k HP. So 16,000 to 18,000 HP. I would say this is safe zone where people can get him low enough for him to proc his S3, but then at the same time not kill him in one shot. That's really what you want to avoid. But yes, if he has a faster speed, most likely he wouldn't be killed in one shot unless they had two nukers lined up one after the other. But that is pretty cool to know, though. I didn't think about that. Aline Rob says S2 is HP data mine, even though it says defense in game. I'm pretty sure it's defense. The data mine I think is wrong. The reason is because when I swap my Krau to the speed build, I lost about 500 defense, and I can see a notable drop in my S2, while my health is about the exact same. So I think it's still defense. I think it's skilled on defense. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just hitting people who have higher defense now. I'm not quite sure. Tenebria. So a mage, very good. People use her as a defense breaker, and for 2-turn, 3-turn lastingness in like PvP and GVG, I think she's a bit better than someone like Bologna. And again, keep in mind, I'm saying PvP or GVG, okay? I think Bologna is top tier for PvE, and she's the better defense breaker if you really want to compare it. As you can see, her S3 is the defense break. It has a 5-turn cooldown, but Bologna, because she can proc the S3 if she has a full focus gauge from her S1 or even S2, after using her S1 with a full focus gauge, she'll proc the S3 again, which has a 100% defense break. So in terms of defense breaker, that role, Tenebria is not the best defense breaker. Of course, I was saying that Tywin now has a 100% defense break and AoE as well, and Tywin has really fast base speed, and he's a tank, so he can have Aureus. So better for a 2-turn all-rounder. Tenebria, the only good thing that she has is her S2 and the S1. I'm going to read that in a bit. But again, the S3, because even if you max it, it has only a 75% chance to decrease the defense for 2 turns, but it also increases her own attack. Now, Tenebria is kind of interesting to build. One, she is a mage. I have seen really beefy Tenebrias, so like 10k, 11k HP. That's considered pretty beefy for a mage. 10k, 11k HP. Also, she needs to be fast and really high effectiveness. Her high effectiveness is needed because of what she has for her S1 and S2 as well. So for someone like Krau, they only have really one skill that needs effectiveness. But for someone like this mage here, for Tenebria, she needs at least I don't know, where the meta is going right now is really crazy, but where I am in arena, she needs at least 80% as a minimum, 80% to even think that you can proc. And again, there's a lower elemental advantage for Tenebria currently because we're in the ice meta. People running DN, Angelica, Luna, Krau, Tywin, all of these would cause a possibility of a miss. So then her defense break becomes even less usable. It's very, very hard to say that Tenebria is top tier, but again, I think she has her uses. If you take a look at the S2, it does a CR pushback, maximum of 30%. That's very good, and it's AoE. So again, that does require some effectiveness to make sure you proc that. If someone does have high effect resistance, you can ignore it. You can resist it completely. So high effectiveness is very, very important on her. On S1, after awakening, that's all we're going to read here. Maximum of 35% chance to go to sleep for 1 turn. If an enemy is actually put to sleep, then her combat readiness gets pushed up to 50%. That's really good for herself, and it's exactly if she has high speed, which is something that you really do want to build her for. She can get quite annoying since this is the S2 does only require a 4-turn cooldown, and she can do pretty decent damage. She doesn't have the highest mods, but people do build her for high damage as well, high damage output, high critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. It says that this skill does not trigger a dual attack, but if you attack with someone else and she is proc to dual attack and she pulls off the S1 and puts someone to sleep, she still gets the boost in the CR. So it still makes her really good. So all in all, yeah, so PMA wants to note this is like if you lack AoE damage, she is pretty good, as she's a breakable and sub damage dealer. AoE damage for A11, so hunt A11. I would say I agree, just because you got 2 skills here that are AoE, and like I said, she can be built to be pretty strong, like as a damage dealer. I would say, like, you know, she would be a pretty decent damage dealer, whereas I think like Bologna, even though Bologna is still quite strong, I think like for Bologna you really want to focus her on like maximum speed and effectiveness and survivability, whereas Tenebria, I would say she's more of a damage dealer than Bologna is. But that, you know, to each their own. It just depends on your stats and your gears, and you can make them all shine. So my thoughts on the banner itself, if the speculation is true that Haste and Euphine may be coming in the next batch, I would say to save your Covenant bookmarks there. For one, myself, I have both of these heroes now that I won't be pulling on this, so this is a pure skip for me. It's gonna be like a breath of fresh air. I really need a break from pulling on banners. But if it is Haste and Euphine, I think I might give it a go. We'll talk about that, you know, in a future video if that is the case. But for this one, again, like I said, I gave you guys my unbiased view on where they're useful, how you should use them, and I really do think that for new players, they're nice to have. But are they a must-have? I would say no. If you have other heroes that can fill in the roles that they're doing, you don't really need them. You can pull them off banner in the future anyway. So don't spend too many Covenant bookmarks on this. Anyways, I think Tara says she has one of the highest base attack, higher than Sirmia. I don't think she has higher than Sirmia. Hold on, one sec. Let me do the due diligence here, because Sirmia has a really high base attack, 1,300 plus, which I don't think Tenebria has that. But let me see here. I know Tenebria can hit quite hard. So you guys are hearing me. I'm actually going to the Heroes Journal while I'm in this video. I will end this right after though. Let me double check. Preview stats. If it's 6-star awakened. Oh, you're right. Oh, then never mind. It is. That's really high. Okay, so Tenebria has 1,359 attack, which means it doesn't really take too much attack percentage to scale her up really high. That's actually really good, and you can take advantage of that too. If you do plan to make her just a damage dealer, and you know, give her like sub effectiveness, like 45%, 55% effectiveness, then maybe really focus her on it as a damage dealer. 85% critical hit chance, 200% critical hit damage, and I think you could get some really good results. But like I said, for PvE, I think she's pretty good too. But I would say that she actually, that's really good. That's really good. 1,300. Because currently I have a Surmia built with a base stat, of course, of 1,300 plus, and like very minimal attack scaling. What I mean by that is like it doesn't take too much attack percentage to get her really high. My Surmia is at 3,500 attack now, and I don't even have like attack in like my weapon. I don't have attack in like my my helmet or something like that. And anyways, so yeah, that's actually pretty good. Then yeah, Tenebria could be a really good damage dealer. Alright, so anyways, I'm gonna end that there. So you guys heard my thoughts, and so if you guys are pulling on it, good luck to you. Again, they can be really good heroes, and they're all, you know, no hero is bad in this game. But as in terms of roles, you just know what you have and what you need, and I would pull for that. If you Fiend in Haste is again next week's banner, I'm more excited about that, but it does depend on the player itself. Anyways, I'm gonna end that there. So if you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next Reading Between the Lines.